Okay, in today's video we're going to be assembling a true cut C27 H7 reel mower. Okay, so in the main box we have the mower itself, along with a throttle cable and a grass catcher. Your instruction manuals, books, and exhaust diffuser. In the smaller box, you have your handle, your control rods, and a bag with lots of nuts and bolts and things. All right, put the handle aside. Always check your bags for little washers and nuts and things. And then I like to sort the things out by where they go on the machine. All right. Also in this bag, we have this cover piece, and that screw goes with it. This is all the parts you should have. Everything is here. Okay, one of the first things you'll want to do is open up this bag and get out this piece here to deflect the exhaust. There should be two small screws, along with some assorted warning stickers and labels and tags and stuff that we don't use here. So two small Phillips head screws and the deflector. All right, you can put this just about any way. Some people like to point it straight down. I like to point it off to the left-hand side. So what I'm gonna do is start in this first hole here. And then, right there, I think. All right. Next, I'm going to take the handle, and I'm going to do it with this part here cupped up, this way. Lay it out. You'll come over to your parts, and you have 8 washers, 4 nuts, and 4 bolts. All right, so each one of the bolts gets a washer. We're going to start on this bottom hole on the handles, and inside here there's a bottom hole. I like to go through from the outside. The handlebars will actually go on the outside of the red part into the bottom hole. Then another washer and a nut. Do the same thing on the other side. Now take a 1/2-inch wrench. There's a little horseshoe part here. Unscrew it very quickly. Set it out of the way. That way we can raise this up. I'm going to go ahead and put the washers on the remaining 2 bolts. Raise this up, go through the upper hole. On the inside, another washer, another nut. Same thing on the other side. And then your horseshoe piece you just took off. It gets a washer and nut on each side, and these are nylon lock nuts. And we're going to run those down just a little bit. Not tight, just a little. So here's a close-up of what we've done so far. The 2 bolts here and 2 bolts there, along with the nuts here and here of this U-shaped piece. All right, next, this piece here with the white handle on it is a long assembly. We want to take this bolt and nut loose on this end. It is also a 1/2 inch. We're going to take this part, and with this bolt with the spring sticking out, so it's this direction, we'll take this end, put it over this height adjuster bar here, and reinsert the bolt and the nut. Next, we're going to take these 2 bolts with their respective nuts, and they're going to take a 7/16 wrench. All right, so this height adjuster bar, you want to pull it out about halfway. That way, flip this around. You can match this up. We want to put one of the bolts from the outside. We have this line of holes here. We want to go in the 3rd hole from the bottom. The 2nd bolt, we want to come down to the 2nd hole from the top. And then finger tighten the nuts on the inside. Next, I'm going to measure 5.5 inches from this outside edge right here, and that's where I'm going to put this against. All right, so from right here to right here is 5.5 inches, and then I'll tighten the nut. It moves just a little bit, but as long as it's within 1/16 of an inch. So then up here, these bolts are going through a long slotted hole, top and bottom. I want to slide the handlebars up until the bolts are as close to the middle of those 2 slots as they can be, and then I'll tighten them down too. Now what you want to do is see that you have full range from the bottom hole all the way to the top hole. Put it back in the middle, and now we can tighten up our handle bolts. One thing I like to do is on this horseshoe piece, I don't want it butted up against the very back. So I'm going to push up just a hair, get it up, maybe 1/8 of an inch from the end of the slot before I tighten those nuts down. This inside nut has to be done the old-fashioned way. Not enough room for the ratchet in there. Good. Once I have that, I can use the impact driver to tighten the other 4 bolts. Bottom. And I'll recheck my handle here to make sure I still have full range. And now I'll take these 2 long rods here. You'll notice that they have a threaded end and a flat end with a hole in it. The threaded end will go up through the eyelets here, up high on the handles, and the other end is going to go down here in this red piece near the bottom. On the other side, once again, the threaded piece up through the top. And the other end is going to go on this silver part, but for right now we'll just leave it sitting on the tire like that. Now we want to take one each of these springs, washers, pins, and cotter pins, and that's what's going to go in here through the hole on the red piece. Okay, so we're going to take one of the pins, come through from the hole in the back, and through here. Next, the spring, which will go this way. We won't put it on up here or down here just yet. We'll just have it on there loosely. Then the washer. A little cotter pin. And so that cotter pin then, I like to take some needle nose, and I have a pair of slip joint pliers here. I'll hold it with the slip joint pliers from the top. Take the needle nose, grab the long leg and flare it out, come to the other side and do the same. Now you can take your spring, hook the top, and hook the bottom, and that's it. Okay, so this side's a little different. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and put our washer on our pin. The spring is gonna go this way, the short side towards the front. I'm gonna put it on the pin as well with the washer. And then I'm going to start feeding them through the hole in the back and then through the rod. Now the cotter pin. Once again, holding it from the top with the slip joint pliers, grabbing the long leg with the needle nose. One leg, 2 legs, and take your spring, hook it bottom and top, and this side's done. Now we'll take these 2 nuts and these 2 star washers. Come over here. On each of these threaded ends of the rods, we're going to place a nut first. Run it almost all the way down. And then the star washer. Next, we've got these 2 bottle cap looking pieces and these 2 levers. A lever on each and a bottle cap. Hand tighten the bottle cap as tight as you can get it. And then run the nut back up. Grab a 1/2-inch wrench. All right, so the lever on the right side, we're gonna actually go up, hold it a little up past horizontal. And then when we tighten it, it should actually drop down to be almost horizontal. The left lever, which is your speed control, you want to be able to hold this handle and push on it with your thumb. So we're actually going to put it up here about like so is where we're going to want it, at about maybe your 10 o'clock position. And tighten the nut, and that way I can hold it and I can push. This is your blade engagement, so it doesn't matter. Once it's on, but this one you want a little more control over. Now we have the red cover plate and the small bolt. I'm gonna come over here. The red cover plate, you'll start from the top, holding the end out, slide this down, and then you want the edge to come over the bottom down here. Start your bolt in the hole. And you will need a 5/16 socket. Finger tighten it as far as it will go, and just give it just a little bit more. You don't want to strip it out. There we go. Now on the air filter cover, we're going to remove the thumb screw and the cover. And then down in here, there is a strain relief with this one has a little green paint dot on it, and it always has a Phillips head screw. We're going to remove that. Okay, so next I'm going to take this throttle cable piece, and on the end you'll notice this little hook. Down here you'll see where a spring comes in, and then there's a hole just to the side of it. I want to take that hook and go into that hole, just like that. And then I want to replace the strain relief, catching the throttle cable in the back side of the strain relief. This front side has this little bump out, but I want the cable in the back side. And the bump out goes in a notch down here on the plate. And we're not gonna make that tight at all. Just wanna get it where it'll hold. All right, so here on the throttle cable end, you have 2 bolts, and they have nuts and washers and things. The larger of the two you'll need 2 7/16 inch wrenches. You'll have to loosen this one. It's a lock nut, so once you give it about a half a turn, you'll be able to take it out by hand. Let's see, go ahead and take the washer off too, I believe. The bottom one here, we can just run it up with our finger. And then take, not the spacer, but just the little washer off. There's also an aluminum spacer here, and we want to leave it. Now, without letting these bolts fall out or letting the spacer fall off, we're going to bend this around to where we can get it in these 2 holes up here on the handles. All right, so on the bigger bolt, washer, nut, smaller bolt, washer, nut, 2 7/16. We don't want these super tight. We don't want this thing to fall off, and this one probably won't because of the lock nut, but you don't want to see any washers moving, but you still got to be able to move this handle. That might actually be a little, just a hair tight. There. And now the smaller one, I'm going to use a combination of a 3/8 inch wrench and a 5/16. I believe the 5/16 is the bolt, yeah. So once again, it's 5/16 over here and 3/8 over here on this side. Okay, so this is your choke lever here on the engine, or throttle lever, throttle lever. And I want to find the middle. So from here to here, I want to come halfway. And this is the throttle lever you just installed. So while holding the one down here, I want to find the middle. Now I can let go. I can take my Phillips head screwdriver and tighten the strain relief down here, holding the cable in place. And finally, I have this little piece here. It has a bump out on it for the throttle cable. So what I'm going to do is grab the throttle cable, pull it up, and snap that in to hold it about midway on this angled part. I can also go ahead and replace the cover for the air filter, and of course replace the thumb screw on the air filter cover. So I have this one final piece in our parts box, and then I have instruction manuals for the mower, warranty card, and a guide for Honda engine stuff. I'm going to take all this and put it in a bag. Along with the tool here. Roll the top down and give it a couple of staples. I like to go ahead and put oil in. I use the oil filler in the front because I can tilt it back. I can use the needle nose pliers to get it started. Usually they're a little stiff. There's not a lot of room for your fingers in there too. Take the plug out. I'm going to take a paper towel, stuff down in here just underneath the hole, just in case there's any spillage. Use a small funnel. And we're going to start off with about a half a quart and see how close that gets us. All right, now I'm going to watch the oil hole as I come forward, and I see my oil. It's going to be hard for you to see, but my oil is right up on the threads, right up at the edge. It might actually be overflowing just a drop or two, but that's where I want it. So now I'll replace the plug. Which is not always easy to get started because you're in such a tight little space here. There we go. Use the needle nose to give it just a little bump. And then remove the tag that says do not start the engine because the engine has no oil in it, because now the engine has oil in it. Okay, now we're going to attach the bagger. And you can see this little hook here. There's also one kind of hiding up in there on the other side. And on the bagger, you have these little bump outs. Hook them up and in and down. Add our instruction manual bag. And that is that. Your True Cut 27-inch mower is ready for the customer.